All right, do we have everybody put your names in? We're going to do the drawing at the end, so we'll go ahead and get started. These are 7 simple steps to financial freedom. As I said, we're going to be drawing those steps from the baby steps from Dave Ramsey. But first, I want to cover some basic information about personal finance. First of all, can you tell me what is your greatest wealth-building tool? Close.
Automatic saving.
Close.
You.
Close. All right, it's a lot more basic than you all are thinking. It is your income, right? And how can you harness the power of your income? I don't know about you guys, but for years, my income just came in and it went out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you where it went, right? So how do we harness the power of our income to make it work for us?
Have a budget.
It's the dreaded B word. That's correct. It is a budget. So with a budget, you are essentially telling your money what to do rather than wondering where it went, right? And so what you should do is at the beginning of every month, you should sit down and say, hey, this is our combined income, my own income, all by myself, all by myself. Anyway, I'm all right. Anyway, but figure out what your income is, where it's going, and then allocate every single dollar to something. Spend it on paper before you ever even touch your paycheck, before you ever touch any money coming in. Now, by spending it, some of that may be allocated to savings, right? I'm not saying go out and hit Kohl's, be like, oh, she said spend it all. You're going to want to allocate every dollar. Set aside your tithing. You're going to want to set aside, your house payment, your car payment, whatever all of it is. Allocate every dollar. And then we're going to talk what you're going to do, because on average, when people sit down and do a budget every month, they'll find an additional like $7,000 to $9,000 a year that they've just been blowing and not noticing. Mine has all gone to Amazon. So what are the only 3 things that you should do with money? Hint, it's not gambling. That's the only one I'm going to give you. What are the only 3 things that you should do with money?
Pay tithing.
Buy food.
Give is 1.
Oh.
Good.
Okay.
Oh, come back.
Okay.
Sorry, I get all excited. Give, spend, and invest, right? So give, I'm going to put that one first because I'm considering that tithing, but you can also, give to charitable organizations, the hashtag Light the World's coming soon, right? Whoop, whoop. Anyway, give, obviously you're going to spend, food, fun, whatever it is, and invest. And that is saving, but we're going to call it savings with, battery power, right? Mm-hmm. We're going to want our savings to actually make money, not just, hide it under our mattress. So, what is your biggest impediment to wealth? Look, now you're finally going to know. Close. It's like your biggest plus and minus is yourself.
Debt.
Debt. Dun, 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 dun. Debt. Now, what if you have like a 0% interest though? That's okay, right? You're not paying anything for it. It's free.
You still owe on it.
Which means you have risk. It also means that you're paying somebody else for stuff that you couldn't afford. And it means that you're not using that money to make money, right? That money's not making you any interest. Even though you're paying 0 interest, it's fine. It's not fine because you're losing at least 12% interest on that if you had been investing that money and having it work for you instead of you work for Visa MasterCard, right? So let's talk about some common myths, and let's bust those myths about debt. Number 1, I'll always have debt. It's fine. I'm always going to have a car payment. No, you are not always going to have debt. If you harness the power of your income and you spend only what you have, you will not have to work for somebody else, and that compound interest will come back and work for you. Debt is normal. Everyone has debt. This is actually not a myth. It's true. But if debt is normal, be weird, right? Be weird. Everyone out there is paying debt. Everybody out there is paying interest. That's why the banking industry has changed the skyline of every major city that you've seen. You've seen the Frost Bank Tower building. You've seen all of these, Chase and PNC and all these other bankings. They are making, pardon the expression, bank off of you guys, right? Me too, all of us.
Yeah.
Anyway, so be weird. Well, I need to have debt so that I can build my credit because I'm going to buy a house, right? I need to buy a house. I have to have credit. Myth. you can buy a house with a 0 credit score. 0. Now, it's harder if you have a 300 credit score, right? You know, because then you have bad credit. But if you have no credit and you go to a quality mortgage lender, then they will give you a mortgage because you can show them, I have 0 debt, I have no other liabilities, I have income, I have a down payment, I am ready to purchase a home. You're a good bet. They're going to want to loan you money. So if there's any bank out there saying, well, you know, maybe take out a credit card first and then come back, or you know, if you buy a car and then come back in 6 months, they are trying to make a higher interest rate off of you so they can make more money because you're a riskier bet. They want to foreclose on your home, right? That is not a quality mortgage lender. Run from them. All right. But I pay off my credit cards every month. This is my Achilles heel, right? I have bought into this myth for the longest time. I know it's not true, but do I still do it? Yeah. And you know what? I do. I pay off my credit cards almost every month, right? But, I mean, like today, I forgot my presentation. I promise you I'm going to forget a credit card payment. It happens, right? It happens to all of us. And so then you're going to end up paying interest. And plus, you're going to end up spending more by virtue of having that credit card. I'll cover that in a second. But it's worth it because I get the travel rewards and the miles and the points. But how do you think the credit card companies have money to be giving you a trip to Hawaii? You know, they're just being, is it a write-off for them? Is it like a charitable donation? Are they just being good citizens? No, they're making bank off of you and off of everyone else. And Sydney, you're going to go to Hawaii on my interest. Do you feel good about that?
If you come with me.
Done. Right. And so really what you're doing by taking those points is that you're feeding off of other people's weakness and paying interest. And you are spending more because, in order to hit the 3%, cash back, you're having to spend over $1,000. And so now we're spending more when you could have just paid for that $300 flight instead of buying $3,000 worth of stuff on Amazon. You are spending more so that you can get these travel miles that, frankly, you're going to forget and you're not going to use them and they're going to expire. And you need 7 million of them to be able to go to Milwaukee. And so, is it worth the stress and the risk and the everything else to get those travel miles? All right. Well, another myth is that you need to have a credit card in order to rent a car. Myth. You can do it with a debit card, right? You can also do it with cash if you want to put down a big thing, but you can do it with a debit card. And your debit card is just as safe as a credit card. It's FDIC insured up to $250,000. I don't know how much you guys spend in a month, but hopefully it's not that much. But you can rent a car with that. If you're at a rental car place that doesn't accept a debit card, rent from someone else. I promise you that you can rent a car with a debit card. Okay? This is what I was telling you about. You can spend the same, but if you're swiping a debit card, why not just swipe a credit card? It's the same thing, right? Swipe, swipe, swipe. But there have been studies done, and there's an actual psychological difference of when you are spending someone else's money versus do I have, has my paycheck hit my bank account yet? Do I have to take money out of my account, or out of my card, out of my pocket to pay for this bill? You will think twice about spending your own money. When you are swiping a credit card, you're like, I will have money to pay this by the time I have to pay the bill, right? I don't have it now. That's why I'm using a credit card. And for my points, right?
Well, I use a credit card for everything.
Mm-hmm.
But my husband made it a register, and we use it like a checkbook. So every time I spend on the credit card, we write it on the register, and we deduct it right then and there.
And you pay it and transfer it over?
Yeah, in fact, I pay it several times during the month.
Yeah.
So I can keep a zero balance.
You can do that, but you run the risk of missing the payment, because I do that too. And I'm like, I'm just going to pay it off and pay it off. I'm like, oh wait, my payment was supposed to be on the 15th, and I sent it on the 16th and the 8th, but
It's
I
like
still
I
paid
pay it
interest
off
on
every
some.
other day almost.
Yeah. But you're just,
And the credit card.
it takes up more like psychological power and like thought, and it just robs you of that peace going, I have to pay this off before I have to pay the insurance, right? And you run that risk, and you're playing into this, right? Now,
Right.
I don't want to be totally hypocritical. I do have a credit card. It's an Amazon card. I just love Amazon. Anyway, but I'm doing that knowing that I'm taking on this additional risk, and I feel terrible about it every night. Just so you know.
As I usually.
I do. Anyway, some people say, well, you know what? I want to use other people's money to give me greater financial leverage. Let me give an example here, and tell me, how we can start a business doing this, right? What if I were to take out a mortgage against my home and pull out $100,000 and invest at 8% interest, and I invest that into the stock market where I can make easy 12%. I've got a 4% spread, making money every month, it's coming in. All I got to do is just pay off my home equity line of credit, right? Is it a good plan?
Oh no, it's gambling.
You're taking on additional risk, right? So the 4% spread is not a 4% spread when you adjust for risk. So in other words, if I have a job loss, if I have something come up, if I'm not able to pull this money out and immediately pay off that HELOC if something happens, now I put my house on the line, right? And if I get underwater, if I miss a couple of payments, they can foreclose on my home just so that I can make $200 in interest, right? Not worth it. And so using other people's money, you have to take into account the effects of risk and what that does to you and how it robs you of your financial peace. All right, so those are our myths. Now let's talk about repaying a credit card. If you were to pay the minimum balance on a credit card, and you know how when you owe $2,500 on a card, you make that $100 payment, and then the next month it's only $94. Ooh, that's even better. I'm going to pay that because I can afford that better, have a little bit more spending room. And then the next one, it may be a little bit less. If you continue to pay that minimum balance, it will take you 24 years to pay off those $2,500. 24 years, and all that time you're paying interest. If you're like, oh, I'm smart, I'm going to pay the $100 every time and not go with a decreasing minimum, I'm going to pay off my credit card in 5 years for just $2,500. Now, what does that mean? That means that we're paying interest and we're giving away our money. So not only are we not making interest for 5 to 25 years, we are paying it for that entire time. And we are paying out the nose, right? So if we were to pay like a 2% minimum payment on $1,000 phone, it would take us 30 years to pay off that phone. Now, I don't know about you guys, but do you remember having a cell phone 30 years ago? What did that look like? Did it have a cord and it was stuck to a wall? Right? So your technology is gonna get outdated way before you ever pay it off. And you're gonna pay $13,000 for that $1,000 phone. But worse, what if you take out a $10,000 furniture loan so that you can have new couches and stuff? I have a big dog. My couches aren't going to last 30 years, right? And I certainly don't want to pay $132,000. Instead, I'll just buy a house with furniture already in it, right? But again, this is what we're paying over time if we're making those minimum payments. And so if you take a minimum payment saying, I can afford $20 a month, I can afford $100 a month, you can't afford to be paying these prices for these items that you're getting with consumer debt. Okay? Now, let's see the other side of the coin. This is my favorite side. This is where compound interest is working for you. Let's be conservative and say, you're 24 years old. You've got a few years, Swan. You're 24 years old. You want to retire when you're 65, and you're going to save $100. Now, this is super conservative because in your whole life, if you can't save more than $100 a month, okay, fine. But just $100. Maybe you don't go to Chick-fil-A a couple of times, a month, and you just take that money and you put it into your retirement savings. And you're going to get an annual return rate of 12%, which is the stock market average for the last the last 50 to 100 years, sometimes more. My 401k this year is making bank. It's at 23% interest, so I'm riding that all the way to the bank. But average it out over the times, the good years, the bad years, 12% average. Compare that to what you're making in your money market savings account down at the credit union or the bank, 0.01% interest. Okay? Oh, it's okay though. I have a high yield savings account for my emergency fund, 4% interest. And how much is inflation? 4%. Right? So I'm not losing money, but I'm not making any in that high yield savings account. We'll talk more about those. But 12% there. When you retire in 41 years, that $100 will turn into $1,326,000. That's the power of time. So who said time earlier? Yes, time's a good one. Now think about it. You would have started with $0, paid in over 41 years, $1,200 a month or almost $50,000 in that whole time frame, and you will have earned $1,277,000. Now, if this is in a Roth IRA, that money is tax-free. you would have paid taxes on $49,000 over the course of 40 years, and which is $1,200 a month. You're paying taxes on that, so you're paying, what, 20% of that? Somebody tell me 20% of 1,200. Seriously? Nobody?
240.
Great job, guys. What?
240.
240 bucks. So you pay 240 bucks a year in taxes on this much, and you're going to take this completely tax-free. I don't know about you, but if I get $1 million, I do not want to give 30% of it to Uncle Sam. So,
So
Roth
this
IRA,
example here, this account would be a 401k account?
this is any investment account for retirement, but I'm talking about investment account. The example I'm giving you is a Roth IRA. I have a Roth 401k, but it can be a traditional, any kind of retirement account. We're investing this in a mutual fund. So, mutual funds are the investment of choice. Essentially, rather than say, you know what, I'm going to put all my stock on Microsoft, and I'm going to put all my money in Microsoft, and you know, it's a really big growing company, it's doing great, and then, but then if, you know, Bill and Melinda Gates start, you know, harboring terrorists or something, and their stock prices tank, I've just lost all my money because, you know, Microsoft has tanked, right? So if you put it into a mutual fund, it's like 100 to 200 different companies, and so you've got Microsoft, Tesla, Google, you know, Nvidia, like all these massive companies and all these different companies across the world. Sometimes you can have international funds, and if one of those fails, you have 199 others that are going to continue to grow and make money. If all of those companies fail at the same time, it's probably nuclear warfare, and we're dead anyway. So don't worry about it. Okay, but yeah, so 12% interest, which means that person would be a millionaire 2 years before they ever retired. And that's if they only ever came up with $100 a month. If they paid more, this math, this snowball going the opposite direction is crazy big. We were plugging it in with, we compared my numbers versus my fairy goddaughter's numbers. She's 30 years younger than I am, right? And we said, well, what if we matched like the same amount and how much, you know, I'm putting in, and if we did it, you know, up to the age of 65, I was going to end up with like $2 or $3 million. She was going to end up with $1 billion. And I was like, anyway, but that is just the power of compound interest over time and the power of consistency. So this is consistency of $100 making you $1 million. Okay? All right, so how do we figure out what our net worth is? This is on Dave Ramsey's website. You can plug in your own numbers. Let's give this as an example. Let's just say you own a $450,000 house. It sounds super fancy, but that's actually the median house price in the United States. But you got like a $336,000 note, like you've only been in there a couple of years. Give me a minute. You got, you know, $5,000 in your checking. You've got $12,000 in credit card debt. You got $2,000 in savings, and you have a personal loan because you had to buy that furniture, of course. And then you haven't started retirement savings yet because you just got out of school, right? You got $55,000 worth of debt. You've got a couple of cars though; they're worth $27,000. I mean, after the $32,000 note that you have on them, and you know you ended up in the doctor's office, and so you got that just a little niggling $500 debt. So your net worth is $45,000. What we're doing is just subtracting the liabilities from your total assets. You're doing okay, $45,000. You're in the green, right? You're all right. But imagine what it would be if you didn't have debt. You would be worth almost $500,000, right? So when I talk about millionaires, I'm not talking about like Steve Jobs. Okay, those are billionaires, I know. You know, I'm not talking about Bill Gates. I'm talking about people who own their home, who have a retirement account, and drive a Toyota Camry, right? No shade on Toyotas. They last forever. Good cars. Anyway, and so you could be a millionaire very, very quickly if you start saving to your retirement accounts, if you pay off your home. And this person, they're halfway there, and they have $5,000 in the bank. You know, they're not going to look flashy. These people are the tortoise and the hare, right? They're slow and steadily making their wealth grow. Now, we're going to talk about the 7 baby steps. I have them arrayed this way, not because it's the only way that fit on the slide, although that was a factor, but also because this is the level of intensity that we are going to take these in. These first 3 baby steps, you're going to be gazelle intense. Now, the gazelle is chased by a cheetah. That is its #1 predator, right? And the cheetah is the fastest land mammal on Earth, but it only catches a gazelle 1 out of 17 times. It's faster than the gazelle, but the gazelle is more intense, and it will run, and it will dodge, and it will get away, and it will fight for its life. That's where you need to be when you're in these 3 steps. Be gazelle intense. Now, after you get past those first 3 steps, and I'm going to go through them one by one in a minute, and you're in these 4, 5, and 6, you're going to do all of these steps in order. So you're going to start with 1, 2, 3. When you get to 4, 5, and 6, you can do these simultaneously, and I'll talk about that. But here, you're not going to have to be gazelle intense. I'm not going to ask you to live on beans and rice or never see the inside of a restaurant. But I want you to be intentional when you're in these steps, because we can just totally coast and not worry about where our money's coming from, and just like paycheck in, paycheck out. I'm just, just living my life. I'm going to soccer practice, whatever. And you can forget about all this stuff. But if you're intentional about how you save your money, and you set up systems and automatic savings and whatever it is, so that you can get to do these steps, then you will get to baby step number 7, which is to build wealth and give, and that is just sheer awesomeness. And we'll talk about each of these steps. Let's go. The battery's low. How? It's supposed to be plugged in. Okay. 30. That's not helpful. There we go. Okay. All right. Baby step number 1. You need to save $1,000 in cash fast. All right? This step should take you no longer than 30 to 60 days or so. Find this money however you can. If you have it in your wallet now, great. Take it out of your wallet so you don't spend it. Put it into, I was told in the last class, not in a drawer, put it into a tampon box so that people don't steal it. But remember not to throw away the tampon box. Put it under your mattress, put it in a safe. You can put it into a savings account, but I don't want you to touch it. I don't want you to spend it. I don't want it to be locked into a 6-month CD where you can't cash it out. I would prefer that it was in your home, in cash money, green, so that if your AC goes out over the weekend, you can call a repairman and you have cash to pay him, right? If you get a flat tire on the side of the road, then you have cash where you can, buy yourself a new tire. If you're, anything that pops up, this is your rainy day fund, the most bare minimum thing that you need. How do we get it? You go through your budget, you look for found money, you look under the couches, you start posting stuff on Facebook Marketplace, you sell everything until the kids think that they're next, right? Get this and get it quick, right? Once you have that set aside in cash, don't worry about it making interest, don't worry about anything else, just have it. Then you're going to go on to step number 2, which is the debt snowball. This is where you're going to pay off all of your debt except for the house, okay? Not real estate debt. Every other kind of debt, consumer debt, right? Doesn't matter if it's a medical bill, a credit card, personal loan, whatever it is. You are going to put them in order of smallest to largest. It doesn't matter what the minimum payment is. It doesn't matter what the interest is. It doesn't matter if it's a secured loan or not a secured loan. You don't have to be an economist to do this. Make it super simple, smallest to largest. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pay minimum payments on everything except for the smallest one. Now, 24 years. Don't worry about it. We're going to get to all of these. It's not going to take you 24 years. On average, it takes people 18 to 24 months, depending on how much debt you have. Okay? So what you're going to do is that you are going to take all of your found money. You're going to go through that budget and say, you know what? We are living on rice and beans. We are not going to we're not going to see the inside of a restaurant unless we're picking up extra shifts there. We're not going to do anything until we start paying off these debts. And then you take that smallest debt, that $200 medical bill that you've been paying $15 a month on for the last 17 years. And it doesn't matter, it's no interest. You're going to get rid of it. You're going to pay that off as soon as you can. And then you're going to take that $15 a month payment that you paid there, plus all your found money, and you're going to attack that $2,000 credit card that you have. And you're going to pay as much as you can every month until that $2,000 credit card is gone. Then you're going to take that $15 payment to the medical bill. You're going to take that $25 that you were paying to the credit card and any found money, and you're going to knock out the next smallest debt. And you can see that every time you get rid of a minimum payment, right, and you allocate your found money, that snowball starts getting bigger and bigger and bigger every time it rolls over. Is that my 5-minute warning?
No.
Okay, no.
No.
All right, we're good. I got time. Anyway, by the time you get to the end and you have all of these minimum payments and different things that you have and all of your found money, that's my 5-minute warning. You are going to be able to pay off your car super fast because that is going to snowball over and get you there quickly. Once you pay off all your debts, you're going to take that same snowball money and you're going to start rolling that into a savings account. You want to preferably into a high yield savings account. This, your credit union account is making you 0.01% interest. Those 97 cents aren't helping you out, right? Put it into a high yield savings account. You can look, I just opened an account with Live Oak Bank online, transferred in some money, super easy. I'm getting a 4% interest. Somebody else mentioned Sophie was 4.5. These are great banks. But get a high yield savings account. Look for an account that has no fees, no charges, no minimum balance, and start making 4%. That'll keep you up with inflation so that you're not losing money. And this is your emergency fund. If you have to spend it, come back and refill that emergency fund before you continue on down the baby steps. Okay? Once you have that, and one thing on the 3 to 6 months, if you need to decide if you want to be 3, 4, 5, or 6. But consider factors like if you have more than one income, if what a job loss would mean, what is the likelihood of both of you losing their jobs? Do you have children? Will you have high expenses? And you're only going to do your actual expenses like your I need to survive, mortgage, food, lights, water, that kind of stuff, and roll that in to your 3 to 6 months. After that, 4, 5, and 6, I said you can do simultaneously, but you're going to do them in order, right? So we're not going to start funding the college fund until we start putting at least 15% of our income into retirement. If you have a 401k at work or an IRA or a simple or anything else like that, great, use it. If that doesn't get you to where you need to be, open up a Roth IRA on your own. You can go onto sites like Fidelity or Vanguard or Voya, or you can call a financial advisor. Whatever it is, you want to start saving 15% of your income, because while there's a possibility if you have kids that they might go to college, and there's a possibility that you have a house and you might need to pay it off, you will for sure get old and you will need to retire at some point. So this comes first. But once you've met that 15%, and hopefully once you've cleared up all your debt payments, this will be easy. Then you can start saving for the kids' college. I recommend using a 529 plan because that will help you grow interest. With my fairy goddaughter, I started a 529 plan when she was 9 months old. She's currently 16. I haven't paid a dime into it for over 5 years, and it has quadrupled in value. She will be able to go to college and have room and board free because of compound interest working in her favor over time. And she's not going to graduate for another few years, so it will only increase from here. Baby step 6, start paying off the house. Now, mind you, if you have no kids, you may skip step 6. That's my gift to you. All right. That's the only good thing about not having children, so you don't have to pay for their school. Other than that, you're going to want to pay off your house as soon as possible. If you are not in a house yet, then you would actually have like a secret step 3B. After you pay off your debt, you're going to start saving for a down payment, right? Continue that snowball before you do the investing or anything else. You're going to want to save your down payment so that you can get into a house. That is one of the best ways that you have to build your wealth, is to own your home. But now you're going to use what's left in your snowball of your income and whatever you can free up from your income to start paying down the house. Again, you don't have to never see the inside of a restaurant here. You just need to be intentional about making those additional payments. If you have the opportunity to take out a mortgage, try to do a 15-year fixed mortgage. Don't do anything but a fixed mortgage, obviously. You don't want to have a balloon interest or have somebody surprise you and be like, just kidding, I know we said 2%, but this month it's 30. I'm sorry, no, don't change my interest. Fixed interest only, 15-year if you can get it, if you can afford it. Your payment will be a little bit higher, not double, but a little bit higher than a 30-year, and you will pay a fraction of the amount of interest that you will pay over 30 years, okay? And 100% of people who pay off a 15-year mortgage do it in 15 years or less. Whereas with a 30-year mortgage, almost 100% of people who pay it off do it in 30 years. Even though they say, I'm going to get the 30, have a lower payment, but I'm going to make extras. You are not going to make extras. If you don't have that intensity behind you of knowing that you have to do it, you are going to let it slide. After you've paid off the house, is that 5 minutes or was the other one 5 minutes?
No, the other one.
Or is that done? Oh, go. All right, you will be in the final steps where you can invest, give like no one else. You will have financial freedom. You will continue to grow your wealth. You're now not limited to 15% into your retirement, or you can use other forms of investing into mutual funds or whatever. and grow your wealth until you have generational wealth. You can change your family tree by doing these steps, baby steps, one by one, little by little, and putting time on your side. So now I want you to go and give and spend and invest wisely.